You're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at TheSlowRidePod. Enjoy the ride.
Hello and welcome to the 91st episode of the Slow Ride Podcast. This is Tim Hayes in Orlando, Florida.
Hey, this is the little guy in Minneapolis.
This is Spencer Howe in Boston, Massachusetts. Is that what we're doing tonight? Funny voices?
No, I'm doing that because I'm really into this podcast called it's Lon Taylor, the Ramblin' Boy on Marfa Public Radio. It's this old, 89-year-old dude who used to work for the Smithsonian, and he starts every podcast with
Marfa Public Radio?
Marfa Public Radio,
Texas?
Yeah, and this guy does a little Texas history podcast every Friday, and there's this really dramatic music, and then he starts going, "This is Lon Taylor, the Ramblin' Boy."
You said Texas history podcast?
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. Doesn't talk about bikes at all, but it's a really good podcast.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
Just
good.
making sure.
Oh, man, this is already off to a great start. Hey, guys, we got a pretty sweet question the other day that I thought would be a great way to start off the podcast, because people can always email us at theslowridepodcast@gmail.com, and we are known for being experts on advice in all things cycling. And so what better way that you may remember we've put out the shout out to our single UK listener, which this UK listener's name is Tom, and I must admit I was a little disappointed that his name wasn't Murray. But then I thought maybe Murray was like our Scottish listener, and then maybe it's not the same thing, So, anyways, Tom.
In our defense, we're Americans, so we don't really know where the UK starts and ends.
Yeah, and he tells us, great podcast, the right balance of rumor, gossip, and tittle tattle. I don't know what that is, but here's the question.
Sounds
and
naughty.
it's obvious that the question is written from someone overseas and not here in America, but the gist is the same. He says, if a bike racer has been performing rather well in one cross league where the quality isn't that great, can he go, or should they go, he or she go, to another cross league and use their position to get that front row start spot and stay there? So, in short, should a racer from Florida, that's a category 1, then go to...
New England
or Georgia, and stay in the front row, even though they don't have they have the points, but they're not as good quality.
Well, you never know until you try. So at least he's got to do it once. He's got to show up at the front, because how does he know? Maybe he does have the stuff to hang in this New England-esque land that he's traveled to from the Florida backwater he lives in. What do you think the Florida of the UK is?
Probably Wales.
Oh yeah, well, we just lost our Wales. A lot of people
go to Wales to retire.
So here's the rest of the thing. He says, should the bike racer admit that their front row gridded position based on points in the lower quality league is not required, as they know they are going to get absolutely smashed in the better league? Or should they just keep quiet, keep their head down, and maybe wear some understated kit and just hope that people don't notice that the guy in the front row dropped all the way through the back of the pack like a lead weight? I welcome your thoughts on this. And I like that he came to the American source of expertise, because one would think, based off of past cyclocross results, that this is what's going on with Jeremy Powers. But we know for a fact that is not what happened to Jeremy Powers at Hoogerheide, because he was almost run into the barriers by the world champion.
Okay, maybe not at Hoogerheide, but maybe other times that's kind of what's happened. This is the same idea, right? He's the biggest fish in the small American pond. He goes over there, and he's obviously...
He's the 35th fish.
Good, but he's the 35th fish, but he gets to start on the front row, and there's probably a handful of guys who are like, I can't believe that dude's going to start in front of me.
He should be allowed to start in the front row because he's earned that front row start, because he's going to races that have the qualification points. hopefully at some point the American scene builds up to be strong enough to be world class, and maybe we are getting closer to that. We're definitely the fourth best country.
What about the other side of this same question? What if you flip the question around and you say, is it fair for somebody from a higher cycling league to go sandbag it in a lower quality area? Like, is the guy who gets 10th place in New England cross races, is it fair for him to go down and smash faces in Florida?
Absolutely. It'd be amazing.
And just pile on points or whatever.
It's the same way when every year, last handful of years, one like middle of the pack Belgian dude shows up for the early season American races and crushes everyone. Like, was it Boesmans or whatever who showed up this year?
Yeah, there was a couple different ones.
Okay, so he was here this year, right? He won a bunch of races, and then he stopped racing about a month later because he has Lyme's disease and wasn't feeling well enough to race. So nobody had it last year. So he had Lyme's disease last year. He still had enough form to show up in America and crush people for a couple weeks, and then go back to Europe and be like, "Oh yeah, I still have Lyme's disease."
Yeah, I don't really know what to tell you for advice other than if you got the points, man, just run with it. Like, I'm hanging on to my Cat 2 license for dear life. I don't deserve to be in that field any longer. I don't do the work. I shouldn't be there. I should downgrade, but I'm not going to, because it's a point of pride. If they're going to put you on the front row, you take that front row start and you slide back through that field with dignity.
Dignity.
Yeah, you
However
slide back.
Possible.
It's okay to slide back in the back of the field. So,
just look down at your pedal and kind of shake it around like, oh, I got a cleat problem. Oh, I got
stamp on the pedal. Check your tire pressures. Bang your bars a little bit. Make a little show of it. Really frustrating.
So we have another question that came not directed at us, but because we're experts. Again, it is an important question to answer. And the question is Kevin Pauls the champion of Estonia? And that was asked by Cameron Beard PLS on Twitter.
Why is that asked?
Who is this guy? Who is Cameron Beard? Answer me that.
An up and coming cyclocross amateur racer, I think, and he really reached out, dug down deep to make everybody happy with the greatest question in the history of cyclocross.
That's true.
So, little guy, you may not know what happened.
I don't know. I can tell you that the Estonian national champion is probably Rain Terame.
So,
probably.
So, little guy, what we're alluding to
is fucking hard. Estonia, Rain Terame. Boom, boom, done.
Is that the UCI Cyclocross World Cup coverage on YouTube? The announcer was like, "Hey, tweet me questions," and Cameron Beard, professional cyclocross racer for Cannondale Cyclocross World, tweets him, "Hey, is Kevin Pauls the champion of Estonia?" And this was shortly after someone else asked, "How do they get out of their pedals so fast when they're clipped in?" And
when they're using toe clips. And that was
everyone is
former U23 national champion.
So everyone's
really
trolling
this guy.
And then I asked one of the questions, I was like, "Hey, how come Wout van Aert is the Belgian national champion, but he's wearing a white skin suit?"
Yeah.
And
that's like a legitimate question.
Yeah, but and he was answering
the other ones are just mean.
That Belgian one does outrank a world.
But that's a legitimate question. The other ones are just mean spirited.
You think they're mean spirited?
Obviously,
well, see,
they were done. If anything that's done with the goal of making other people who are also being mean on Twitter snicker and go, ha, 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 it's mean spirited.
But you don't think it's a little funny? Like, at least once or twice. Like, I think this week, if it continues after this week, then it's done. But I think this week it was pretty hilarious.
The season's basically done after this week.
I think a big part of it too was the fact that not only that they were trying to make fun of this guy, but that nobody's been enjoying his commentary. He's replaced the other Eurosport guys, and he's not real good at his job. He might get there.
Did he answer these questions?
Yes.
Yeah, he answered them live on the stream.
Was he like, no, K-Pow is not.
Yeah, basically.
He said, no, he's not the champion of Estonia. That's his new jersey or his new kit.
And he described us how toe clips work now. Clipless
Well, see,
shoes.
I feel like that's what proves it's mean is that obviously he has to take all these things seriously. Like his job is to take it seriously. If he was in a position, like if we were just fake announcing a race here on our podcast and somebody tweeted us, how do they get out with their toe clips? We could say, fuck off, ask a real question.
Yeah.
He can't do that on the UCI channel. He can't
You
be
know
like,
how
oh,
you
I know
do
this,
that though
I know
on
this
the
jerk.
UCI channel? You know how you do that?
Yeah.
You just don't read it on the air.
But he read a question that someone asked, like, hey, is he wearing a double chamois?
Mm-hmm.
This is because his boss is probably like, read the question. He's like, I don't want to read this question. It's a joke question. And the boss is like, read the fucking question. We don't have any other ones. We said we'd read some questions. Like,
no, he was
he's not
questions.
in control of this, probably.
He read one from me, which I thought was a legit question. I forgot for it. Okay, I didn't forget, but it was like, hey.
You just did? Oh, you got a mean one?
No, like he had told us a couple of times. It's kind of like the old, like, why do they shave legs or not shave legs? That
yeah, he said sexiness.
It's just kind of like, it was pretty funny. I will say this, is that then, of course, Adam Meyerson was the voice of reason that was like, hey, are we crossing the line at this point?
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, Mr. Meyerson has been pretty critical of this guy in the past.
Yeah, well, that's what I said.
He didn't awkwardly make fun of him at his job.
And then I say, to be fair, this guy has gotten better over the last couple of weeks, and Meyerson goes, yeah, but it wasn't him announcing the race last week. And I was like, never mind.
Oops.
Yeah.
He's not good. He's not going to last.
I feel bad.
And
I don't think he's that bad. I don't think he's that bad.
This won't get him fired if anybody's worried about that. You know what I mean? But it probably won't get his contract renewed next year. But I doubt that was going to happen anyway. So I think people need to feel guilty.
I think he's an okay announcer.
Judging by Paul and Phil, I mean, it doesn't fucking matter what you say.
I guess that is true.
Just whatever. You go into the meeting with your bosses who've never watched a bike race, and you're like, I'm super popular. I got this stuff on the rivet.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked 2 questions. I was a little bummed I didn't ask my Belgian one from the Slow Ride podcast Twitter account, because then he would have read that on the air, and that would have been pretty cool.
Idiot!
But
World Championships, that's the biggest stage for self-promotion.
But I'm not gonna do, like, I am a big fan of that kind of trolling, because that is like what the internet is for. Like Tim Johnson, who is
that's my favorite kind of trolling.
He's a color commentator doing the same exact work that this guy does, and Tim Johnson was the one that pointed it out to me. Because, like, when I heard the question, like, how do they get out of the pedals with the toe clips, I just laughed at it. I was like, oh man, I can't believe someone asked that. And then it was Tim Johnson that, like, tweeted, a shout out to whoever asked it, like, oh man, that was some epic level, like, that's what the internet's for. And then I was like, all right, this is pretty hilarious. Let's see what we can get away with.
Wait, so what is the next thing you asked? You told me one thing you asked. What is the other thing you asked?
I'm trying to think.
You gotta look it up.
Yeah, I gotta look it up. But overall, the whole episode itself, I thought was pretty funny. And the winner was definitely asking if Kevin Powles was the Estonian national champion, because for a brief second, you think maybe he is the champion of Estonia.
Well,
no, you don't. You think it's got to be Rain Terame. You're like, I don't think there are any other professional Estonian cyclists.
There's lots of them. They're one of those countries
I asked,
where
like John.
I said
Kursep or whatever his name was that used to ride for AG2R like way back in the day, like in the Christophe Marode.
I asked him. I said, "Excuse me, where are the barriers?"
Excuse me.
That's not a bad question.
I think where are the barriers? I think that was a pretty good question. Like, I didn't see the barrier. Were there barriers on the course? I don't know.
I don't remember. Well, were there barriers? Because let's talk about.
Let's talk about the race itself.
The actual bike race.
Let's talk about Hoogerheide. There were not any barriers on the course. However, there was a brand new staircase with 42 steps up and a conveniently placed porta-john at the base of the stairs.
Nice.
And the
Spencer, you could have stopped there mid-race.
Lose a few pounds before you have to run up all 9 flights of stairs.
The stairs only really came into need once on the first lap when Matthew van der Poel just ran away up the stairs and was never seen of again. And it turned out to be an extremely boring cyclocross race, won by Matthew van der Poel over Wout van Aert. And, it was just not that much fun.
Tim, are you changing your club? Because you had your anyone but Woot club, and now that he's second in every race and Van der Poel wins every race, you still don't seem happy. For a while, it was anybody. You've gotten one guy.
I think that it's a good question, little guy. I now question myself if I started the Anybody Vout fan club too early.
Yeah.
Because now it's like obvious that Van der Poel is the class act, even though Van Aert has won the the World Cup series.
Standings, yeah.
So I may just have to instead of going from the negative, just start going and believing in the power of positivity and just going all back in with Kevin Powell's.
Yeah,
because
I was gonna say, go back in with your first love, or just go into like wanting competitive.
You need to.
I might just embrace the drive side dismount club, because you got both Powell's and then you got Sweek, who is really starting to tear it up the last few weeks.
Yeah,
I'm pretty convinced that the entire Napoleon Games team is drive side dismount club. I haven't seen any of them that aren't.
I think
but he's not racing.
Most of them are. I know Klaas has been benched, but you're right. Like Veers, whatever, that dude.
There's like 4 of them.
Yeah, they're almost all drive side. That is a weird thing.
You're fast and you dismount drive side. Come to our team.
Oh, please
join
come
our
to
cult.
Napoleon Games. Follow Kevin around. He will show you how to do it.
So
yeah, that's a weird thing.
I thought the race overall, I was really disappointed in the race, and I think it speaks highly that a lot of other people were bored by the race, because that's why we were trolling the announcer. Because like if it was a good race, no one would care, because it would be captivating, and the poor guy was stuck there talking about a very boring race. Like there was nowhere about that race that was exciting, and the course itself was like
You get to watch Woot and Van der Haar battle.
Grasping at straws here, little guy. It was no good.
I know.
The whole race was real boring.
But Sweek was in there. I know, but
the race was boring.
Is so good right now.
The race was boring after half a lap.
So people just gotta box him in. So it's like 2 weeks ago where he actually had to fight his way to the front for at least half the race.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what does this say about our predictions for Worlds?
I will call it now that Worlds is going to be a Van der Poel win, followed by Wout van Aert, and then a Kevin Pauls in third place, just like last week.
So a repeat.
A
repeat of this week. Okay.
An easy repeat. And the top placed American will be Jeremy Powers in like 21st place.
21st. That's a 5 spots too low.
So what do you think
he'll get 16th?
I do.
No, 16th is going to be one of the Van Turnouts.
No, it's going to be Radimer Simenek or whatever.
All right. Well, what's your podium, little guy? What's it look like?
How do you
you
say
just
the
pull
Van der
names
Poel?
out of the hat? Yeah.
Van der Poel. How do you do this? I don't understand. No, Van der Poel's going to win for sure. Wout's probably second, and I think Schweik is going to sneak past Van der Haar the last second and get like his first legitimate big race podium.
At Worlds.
At Worlds.
All right, so 2 Van der Poel wins, of Wout van Aert, and then I've got Pauls. Little guy's got Sweek. Who do you got, Spencer?
Well, I got I'm similar here. I'm gonna pull for the old man. He's gonna pull off the third step of the podium. So we got Sven Nys.
Orange is not right
on the podium. It's gonna happen.
Okay,
then
that'd be cool.
Then we've got Van der Poel in second. I'm going to buck the trend here and say he's not going to win, because in first place with a monster move, because it's going to be a muddy race.
Toon Hurts.
Oh, you think Musin?
Francis Moret.
Yeah, that will not happen.
French cyclocross will come through and steal the day. He tried in 2013 in front of the crowds in Louisville, and he slipped out in the corner we were all standing at and watched him slide across the mud.
He was right there. He won't. Ventura, the other French dude, is the best hope. I hate to say it. I hate to say that Moret is not the strongest Frenchman, but you know that the Ventura, the Confidus guy, is actually the best.
Can we call him the Body?
Hey, so
yeah, let's call him the Body.
The Body. Okay,
right, the Body is the best French chance. He's like 6th.
In watching the coverage on the UCI channel, I want to say that I'm very impressed by like European racers, especially like Van der Poel, where after the race they're doing the interviews and they do it in like 2 or 3 different languages. It's pretty cool to see. Which leads to the next. The reason I was thinking about languages was like because I was going to ask who's going to be the top who's going to be the top English speaking, but then it was like Vanderpool was like ridiculously fluent in his question and answer session before slipping back into that dirty language of Belgian or whatever that is.
Dutch.
Dutch, yeah, sure.
Flemish.
It's kind of
Flemish. So, who's going to be the top English-speaking finisher? Namely, will Ian Field beat all the Americans, or will an American beat
native
Ian
English.
Field? Native English.
Yeah,
yes.
first language.
Yes.
No, I think Powers will be.
Powers?
Yeah.
Over Hyde?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Powers in 16th place.
What place will Anthony Clark finish?
17th.
I'm going to say 27th.
Top
Has
20 for
Clark
Anthony.
gone over there yet to do any racing?
No
I don't
idea.
believe so.
So he's just
I don't
going
know.
over one race.
I think he's going to be 27th because that's what place Driscoll would get, and since he's Driscoll's replacement, boom,
Well,
slot him right in.
It's crazy because like Duran was there, and Travis Liverman and Krughoff, and there's no Anthony Clark on the results.
Well, Anthony Clark is a special guy in that, he's a single dad and he's, working for his parents' company and stuff like that. Like, he's got responsibilities that a lot of bike racers, especially at the professional level that are going to Worlds, don't have. And that's a big part of why I donated to his GoFundMe, because I'm like, you know what? That dude has earned it. Like, he's worked really hard to get where he is, and I'm really happy he got the selection. I'm really happy people have supported him.
All right,
That's my soapbox for the day.
It's a soapbox, a good soapbox to have. But
more importantly, what do you guys think about the women's winners? Who do you think's going to take it there?
I was just about to say, I think that this is Sane Kant's year, and I think that Katie Compton is going to be taking second place, and then Nikki Harris in third place for the women's race. So we have a Kant, Compton, Harris podium.
All right.
That's hard to not agree with that. I really want Compton to win this year, but would she get 12th last week?
I think we all do.
Yeah.
We all want Compton to find the win, but
it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Anyway, I'm going to just go with the same as Tim because, see how I can.
What the hell?
Not,
I am
it's like
Vanguard,
it's a solid
baby.
pick. How do I root? Like, how do I say anything other than
You doubled up twice with Super Rookie picks? You're crazy.
He's going before me, and it's
how much has he paid you for this?
It's kind of a no-brainer. Kant's gonna win. Like Vanderpool's gonna
clearly
win,
a
and Kant's
no-brainer.
gonna win. Did you watch the little Vanderpool video on the internet of him and Kant and all the other BCCP guys, teammates hanging out eating croissants and then going for a ride together? Like, obviously he's gonna win, and obviously she's gonna win. She's training with him. They're going to just crush everybody.
Okay, well, I'm going to buck the trend again because that's what I do with my picks.
You're just making shit up. You're just like, what?
No.
Ours are going to come true.
Okay. Well, I've based this on my hard analysis that I've been doing. I've been crunching numbers over here for a couple of weeks now. I got third place. I'm going to put Kant down in third place. She has not been racing well lately. She's been a little off her game. She was dominant all year, but usually that ends on a slide towards the end of the season. I'm going to put perennial favorite, who kind of comes out of the dark every year at Worlds. I actually don't know if she's racing, but I assume that she is. Katarina Nash in second place.
All right.
Because Katarina Nash will crush everyone's face without having showed up all year.
So it's like the Georgia Gold
A little bit.
thing.
A little bit.
Nationals. Nice. Okay.
And the winner will be on a steady trajectory through the whole season. Italy's finest, Eva Lechner.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Big fan of the podcast.
You know that won't be the case. Not a big fan of the podcast.
I'm putting $1 on it right now.
So that could be pretty cool. Eva Lechner taking the win.
Like
So
roller derby or something?
all right. Well, roller derby is not going to be coming back. I checked with the leader about roller derby, the greatest cycling fantasy web game of all time. But
What's his excuse for why it's not coming back?
sometimes, little guys, people just get a little too busy. And with that, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with the Slow Ride Podcast.
Hey, this This is Mo Bruno Roy, and you're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast.
All right, guys, we're back, and the kind of tragedy struck cycling over this past week with the fake start of the season with televised team training camps in Argentina and in Australia, and also the training camps in Europe. And, of course, we're talking about the crashes that have happened. The big one, of course, is the giant Alpecin team. I mean, John Degenkolb practically lost a finger when an older British woman was driving on the wrong side of the road up in a mountain, is what it sounds like, or kind of around some turns, straight head on into a team of which, 8 riders were taken to the hospital, or was it 6?
Yeah.
I thought it was 6, but yeah, it was a lot of guys. Orgel broke his wrist, a couple other guys broke.
Chad Haga is in there, and it's
a lot of bad stuff.
A horrible accident. And then... Little guy, we were talking before we went on the air. Movistar's rider Mallory is in a drug-induced coma down in Argentina. I
think he's out of it now. He was in a drug-induced coma. I think he's out of it now. So, but yeah, he hit his head pretty bad on last Friday's stage. Too many crashes, man. The season just started, and then we've got the one positive crash story. It's not a positive crash, but positive in that Farrar fell down. Bike was destroyed. He got a bike from a fan, got the fan's shoes, rode the bike to the finish, didn't get DQ'd.
I mean, would you borrow your bike to Tyler Farrar?
No, because it's impossible to borrow your bike to someone. Loan my bike? Yes.
God damn it, little guy. Yes. Would you lend your bike to Tyler Farrar?
Hell yeah, I would. He's my spirit animal.
Spencer, would you?
Yeah, I think I would.
Where's he gonna go with it?
Yeah, I'm also the same size shoe, so I think it would work out fine.
So, I haven't would you ask for something?
But we wear the same shoe.
I feel like we're really glossing over the tragedy of the crashes, but people don't come here for the sad news that they can read anywhere else. But let's talk about the practical manner of Tyler Farrar borrowing the bike. So Tyler Farrar crashes, right? Crash. And then he stands up and he's like, oh, and the first thing he does is he fixes his hair. And then he's like, oh, okay, I need a bike to finish. And then there's just some guy, like, if I was that guy, I'd probably be like,
I like this timeline he's laid out.
I'd probably be like slowly backing up and like putting my bike behind like a cactus or like some kind of tree that's out there. Like, what bike? I don't know. Like, sir,
I'm just a guy hanging out in my chamois.
I'm just hanging out. Chamois time's training time. Like, can I interest you in a Coke?
He asked the Pierce. I feel like they probably offered to him. Since the general rule is if you take a bike from a fan, you're DQ'd.
Right.
And that it's not a common thing that you crash and then you just look around and say, somebody give me a bike, I'm a pro.
Yeah.
No, I
imagine he was like just looking at his bike and it was destroyed and his team was up the road.
Yeah, despite all the people on the side of the road at Paris-Roubaix holding up their own wheel sets, nobody ever takes them, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a thing.
How cool would it be?
No, see, here's the thing, guys, is that this poor gentleman that had his nice DeRosa campy bike and his shoes on the side of the road, all of a sudden gets approached by a long-haired guy that speaks in a funny accent, and right away he thinks,
kit on too.
And right now,
never seen it before.
Okay, he's in a kit, he's in like a weird costume, and that poor individual with his bike is sitting there thinking, oh my God, it's Mad Max. And he's coming to steal the bike from me to then to ride to the finish line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't think that happened.
Probably, because everyone in Australia is constantly worried that like a Mad Max sort of scenario is breaking out in front of them.
That's where the movie's from. Like, have you ever seen the movie?
It's true. It was filmed.
It is a post-apocalyptic world when Tyler Farrar is a team leader.
I don't know if he was the.
Yeah, I think both team cars left him behind.
Yeah,
like
I just think he was the
guys,
team
you may not be believing in this, but this story has legs. This was a real life Mad Max situation that happened.
This dude had a chance to get his bike shot by the cycling news people, by everybody, world media. He's paid out a lot of money for his DeRosa. He probably does a lot of tooth replacements and stuff at his practice, and was able to show off his bike. And the only question I have is, I don't have the photo in front of me, but was the stem slammed? Because
that's a good question.
I bet it was, because I bet if it was not, Tyler would not have taken that bike.
Do you think he would have looked at it like, oh man, how awesome would it be? Like Tyler's like, oh man, I need a bike to finish.
He's like, Aero DeRosa,
like I'm
okay.
out.
Carbon wheels, okay. Campy, but okay. Oh, stem's not slammed. Can't take
I'm
it,
out.
sorry.
Like broom wagon.
I'll walk. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I thought
it was cool.
Nice.
It was a very cool move, and I'm glad that race officials were like, yeah, okay, every conceivable option for you was gone. We didn't want you to walk. That's okay.
And it's not like he just made the time cut, I mean, it's not like he was like cruising in and he won the stage or something, and otherwise you'd want, like, it's that he just rode to the finish to make it to the finish so he could start the next day.
If that was in any local USA cycling race, high
there
school
wouldn't have been anyone on the
substitute
side of the
teacher.
road.
Well, yeah. And then some high school substitute teacher that's like the official, so like me in a former life, would like read the rules and be like, nope, can't do it. Absolutely not. That's cheating. Nope.
Well,
like, no fun allowed.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Matt Anderson would not have DQ'd them. He would have waited for them to get a bike from a random person, and then he would have paced them. He would have motor paced them back into the field.
The number of times he paced me back up after dumb stuff happened to my bike when he shouldn't have is
always
epic.
Always good for a draft.
Yeah. I'm not supposed to be doing this, but get behind the Jeep.
That Jeep's a lifesaver.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I saw that Jeep this weekend. You guys want to hear a story?
Yeah.
Sure. What do you got?
I got a good one for you. Saturday, me and Caitlin went down by the Minnesota River, right where 35 parking lot there meets Minnesota River, where everyone goes to go mountain biking and ride the river bottoms. But we went down there just to go for a walk. And we started driving down that long hill. Spencer, I'm talking about the long hill down to the parking lot. It's a really long, gradual hill. And there's a lot of cars, like, coming out of the parking lot, like, parked on the road. And I was like, that's weird. It's never been that busy down here. And we get down there, and there's a lot of fat bikes. Oh, my God, are there a lot of fat bikes. And we lock the car up, and we're walking around. And I'm like, oh, shit, I think there's, like, a fat bike race. And sure enough, there's tape. And there's a finish line, and there's like hundreds of fat bikers. And the race had just finished, like the last stragglers were finishing. But I accidentally went to a fat bike race. I don't know who won. I saw Bergman, so I'm assuming Bergman won. That's my estimate.
Were there a lot of carbon fat bikes?
There was a ton of carbon fat bikes.
Any full suspension fat bikes?
Probably. I don't know. I didn't really look at the bikes. I pulled my little scarf up over my face to walk past the finish line where people were hanging out, because I was like, oh no, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm just here for a walk. I'm not here to like shoot the shit with all these bike racers. Cerisi saw me though.
Hey, he sees everyone.
He sees everyone, man. I couldn't sneak by him. But anyway, that's weird. I've never accidentally shown up at a bike race before.
Did you feel that you should have entered? And
well,
are there rules on fat bike races? Like, do the wheels have to be a certain width?
I don't know, because all I got is 2.2s on my mountain bike.
So if you showed up with that, would they scold you?
I have no idea. I don't even know where these races are listed.
They form a circle around you? Would they circle the fat bikes and kind of pester you and stone you? And
so here's the...
Isn't that a scene out of Mad Max, too? When they're like riding around in circles.
I think, like, obviously, you can ride over whatever, right? That's the appeal of fat bikes. But they were grooming the track. Like, they had a little motorcycle that was pulling, like, a weight. Yeah, that's like a big weight that was grooming the trail.
You're not into...
That's bullshit. Why are you grooming the trail? You have a fat bike. They don't groom the fucking cross courses when it snows 9 feet and my tires are as wide as 2 fingers. But then they go out there and they groom for a fat bike?
Well...
What do you mean, well? You're an apologist. Tim, I'm talking to you.
I can't explain it, actually.
Do you guys think that's weird? I think that's really weird that they groom the trail. One, because like it hasn't snowed much in Minnesota. Like last time we got a significant snow was like a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago. So like the trail's pretty worn in anyway from people riding it. So why? I don't know. The grooming thing was weird to me. Like,
well, because everyone has to feel good about their race, though, guy. You can't have a bad experience.
What?
You know,
That's
it's all
why you
about
got the Shimano
user
medals.
experience. Yeah. So everybody needs to get a medal, and everybody needs to feel like, you know, they had a fair shot. And racing needs to be dumbed down to the level that everybody could. I mean, they're racing fat bikes, though, guy. Like, come on. Like, you're taking all of this skill and excitement out of it.
I went to Worth
Okay,
on
we are
Sunday,
past our
and everyone I
quota
saw was
on fat bikes.
Everyone.
Sorry, guys. Hey, we did get 2 new reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. So on iTunes, we got the longest review ever. It was worth 5 stars, and I'm just going to basically paraphrase. I mean, this is like 10 paragraphs long. But the PDX commuter says, I try to set a good example by waving at fellow riders and stopping at red lights. Unless I'm in a hurry, then I wear another team's kit and ride like a jerk.
It's a good plan.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, so there's a lot of good stuff in here. Like this PDX commuter, you could have just emailed us at theslowridepodcast@gmail.com, and we would have read a lot of this. So first, I don't even know why it's in a review, but that is a great idea. So if you're on a group ride, wear the rival team's kit and then just act like a jerk. That's pretty brilliant.
I do it all over Boston in my Swift Cycle kit.
There you go. Like Swift Cycle. Like, oh, what do you call it? Remember when we were sponsored by Grumpy's Bar and Grill, and I remember a guy called the bar saying that they saw some Grumpy's riders running a red light, and then Pat, the owner, was like, I don't care.
Probably.
Like, he's like, oh, sweet, they're wearing our kit.
Sweet, you saw it.
Yeah, sweet, man. Like, come on in, have a beer. I'll buy you a beer.
Advertising works. Totally.
My problem with waving is there are too many other riders to wave at in Portland, Oregon. There's 150 plus people at the start line of any given category at the Alpen Rose Cross Crusade race, as there are commuters waiting at a red light during rush hour. So I have to choose which ones, and we all look the same. So now the question is, are there too many people to wave at? And this is what was brought up by a friend of the podcast, Derek Lewis, who in the West Side Highway of Manhattan talks about, do you have to wave at every single rider?
Yeah.
See, and you guys keep stressing that you need to wave at everybody, and I kind of have always had the platform that if they're in spandex, you wave. If they're just in regular clothes, it's up to you. You know,
no,
if they're just going to the grocery store.
I like waving at the people. I like waving at the people at the grocery store. I think my official stance is this: is that if you can wave safely and it's not completely redundant because it's not like every every second there's another new rider coming. Because then one wave takes care of like 15 riders. Like
riding down the Greenway in Minneapolis, you don't need to wave at anybody. You're all on a path on bikes going places.
But if you're all kitted up in your kit, that you're in your team kit, and you see another team, you're kind of obligated to wave.
Spandex. That's what I said.
But I'm saying if you're on the Greenway and there's no one else around, and you're both wearing sweatshirts, little sweatshirt wave. You know what I'm saying? Like it's sort of a like we're in the same boat. Like you're going to your grandparents' house, I'm going to my grandparents' house. Cool.
I'm going to say this. Let me put it this way. If you're in spandex and someone else is in spandex going the other way, you wave.
Yes, agreed.
If you're not in spandex and somebody else is not in spandex, or even if they are, if there's another cyclist going the other way, if you guys make eye contact, give them a nod or a wave. If you're just going about your business, okay.
Here's what I do, though. I'm not trying to make eye contact, but I do want to see what their bike is. So I'm just going to give a little cursory, just a little wave, just so they don't think I'm a jerk, and then I can stare at their group set real quick and just see if it's something cool.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's your prerogative.
At the start of a race or a stoplight, there could be a pro elite rider wearing cutoff jeans to look like a hipster. These elite riders also disguise their bikes with paint and stickers and tape to be less of a theft target.
I like these sneaky undercover elite riders.
On top of this, confused Portland grunge hipsters are wearing clothes that make them look homeless, and homeless folks are riding stolen bikes that make them look pro. Guessing wrong and waving at a disgruntled and unstable hipster could make for trouble, and a lowly commuter like me can't wave at the pros on the street. So, there's a lot here,
this
guys.
This guy only wants to wave at other fast people just to like score brownie points. That's bullshit. Wave at the fucking dirty people.
No, but like the principle may be wrong. But
this is a specific. This is a specific to Portland problem. This doesn't happen anywhere but in Portland. And I'm going to tell you what. All of the people that he's described are Todd Danger
or Adam Craig.
Yeah.
So
Todd Danger
is the no one knows who Todd Danger is, but Todd Danger is a messenger legend.
And he's homeless and has a nice bike covered in stickers. That's,
Remember when he built that amazing vanilla frame?
And it was built completely wrong.
It was built completely wrong. That was good.
Yeah, it was the early days.
His rear wheel wouldn't fit because the seat stays rubbed on it.
Yeah.
So, guys, but here's the question out of this review that somehow is a review, but it's really just like a sounding board. Have you guys ever disguised a bike? Have you ever disguised a bike with paint or stickers or tape to be less of a theft target? Like, put the old duct tape on the saddle trick? Like, I've seen that before.
Yeah, but I never understand that because I would say like 90% of the people that steal bikes, it's just it's an opportunity crime, and it's not because they're like, oh, I've always wanted a DeRosa, so I'm going to go steal a DeRosa.
No, that's what Tyler Farrar did, though. He probably wanted a DeRosa.
No, I agree with that.
I don't want to ride a Cervelo. I got this sweet DeRosa.
You can tell, like, a Kmart mountain bike from a really nice mountain bike, but at the same time, you can't tell a $500 mountain bike from a $1,500 mountain bike if you're just a Joe Schmo criminal. Like, you're just kicking open the door to the garage and taking whatever's in there. You know what I mean?
Like when I was with you, Spencer, at Hard Times, and I got my wheel stolen off my mountain bike.
Yeah.
Like, I highly doubt that the person who stole it was walking down the street and was like, oh, look at that vintage mountain bike wheel. I've always wanted a Ringley front hub.
Is that a
red
anodized?
Laced? Oh, red anodized rim. Oh, sweet. That's a
26-inch
tire.
wheel?
Oh, man, I got to steal that. That's the thing to complete my vintage mountain bike project.
Yeah.
No, it was just some fucking kid that went by and was like,
somebody
sweet.
was like, look at that idiot with a quick release who didn't lock up his front wheel.
I've never fucking locked a front wheel in Minneapolis, like, ever.
The irony is that I worked for the lock company at that time.
I know. Should have had like 55 locks on you. Pull them out.
So,
no, that was dumb. But anyway, you know what I mean. It's just like somebody just stole it.
It is an opportunity crime.
Later.
But
so I will say I've done that. I've put stickers all over a bike to kind of make it look less fancy. But that was a long time ago. I've since given that up and just said, you know what, I'm going to just use the proper amount of security and not leave my bike in dumb places.
That's kind of I haven't had a bike stolen, knock on wood, in like 6-7 years. Yeah, or any part of a bike. I mean, my wife has had her bike stolen, but not me. So,
fuck it.
At the risk of this goes on. At the risk of repetitive motion or whiplash, repetitive motion injury or whiplash, I might try acknowledgement with just a head nod. So, is it best to nod up or down? Up seems most correct, but I can only go so far while in the drops.
I think you got to do up, yeah.
I think you got to go up.
I was just going to say I go down, but I want to rephrase that.
Whoa, that's yayo.
I think a downwards head nod is the way to go. You know, you give them it's like a tip of the cap.
No, but here's what I think.
I do the head nod.
They're gonna misconstrue that, Spencer.
UK listener will appreciate the tip of the cap.
Oh, he turned this off a while back when we made fun of the Welsh.
You're looking at your power meter. They're not going to know that that downward is for them. They're going to think you're just checking your watts.
You lock eyes.
And then you unlock,
give their bike a quick look
back.
up and down with just the eyes, and then you give the head nod.
Okay.
It's deliberate.
So, all right, guys.
They feel special. They feel loved.
This review, which still hasn't told anything about the quality that we have, has a PS.
Keep going.
I like the podium bike discussion. Next, I think you guys should address porta potty bikes. If I'm at a race and I'm going that way, and I'm in a hurry, 2 minutes before the whistle, and assuming I get past the minefield of bikes spread all over the ground in front of the toilets, how am I supposed to go when the bikes are leaned up 5 deep against the only open toilet? It's 2016, people. It is barbaric to think that we can't put a bike rack by the toilets.
Wait, they're
maybe the answer is mandatory kickstands on every bike. I don't know. So even if I do make it to the porta pit without stepping on a bike or knocking one over, then I leave the dark, smelly, dirty plastic cesspool in a gasp of air held in my breath. This is not the place to lay down your $8,000 fancy carbon spoked tubular ride just 2 feet in front of me so I can trip on it.
That's true.
Have you ever noticed? This is an astute observation. At the Porta Johns,
I just lean my bike against the back of the Porta John.
Well, that's what he's saying. Like, people lean like 5 of them deep, so you could be in the Porta John and you come out, and then your bike is like 5 deep because people have leaned their bikes on top of yours.
I think if people lean their bike on your bike and you come out, you can't just kick their bike over, but you're totally in the right to just take their bike and just put it on the ground. No, just lean it down. Just put it on the ground.
Derailleur side down?
No, don't derailleur sit down. That's just a dick. That's just a dick and an unpro move.
Whatever side's up.
Yeah, but it could be the guy next to you in the start line.
It's still not nice. I'm just saying you can put it on the ground. And what are they going to do? Get mad? And you'd be like, you boxed me in.
It is. If you are going to steal a bike, you go to a bike race and you go to the Porta Johns at the bike race. Because people will leave that and they're like in there changing. So like even if they hear you walk away with the bike, like they have a really loud freewheel and they hear you rolling away, they're like, they have one leg out of the chamois, they're like trying to get it on, like, whoa, get back here, guys.
You think there's a guy in the bathroom and there's bikes all around being wheeled around, ridden around him, but he hears a very particular freewheel and he says, that's my freewheel.
Yes.
I know that's my freewheel. And so he runs out with one leg in a chamois, one leg in some jeans.
Hey, we got a traditional review, final one of the week. Now with less snark from Go.Jones. Discovered this podcast through the Speed Metal Cycling. The Speed Metal podcast? I never heard of it. Reminiscent of the mighty Two Johns, but with 3 Johns and 2/3 less snark. Good mixed commentary on the pro peloton and personal perspective of guys who actually ride and race bikes.
Who is he talking about?
I have no clue. Dude, guys, it's going to be like 50 degrees tomorrow morning, so guess who is not riding his bike?
Do we have to guess?
No.
Is that because it's cold or just because it's Tuesday and you got to go to work?
It's Tuesday because I got to go to work. Hey,
wait, you were saying you weren't going to ride because that was cold?
Yeah.
I didn't even get that.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, this is Zach McDonald, DJ the one and only Louisville Foam Party, and you're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast.
All right, we're back. And guys, real quick, Carlos Sastre played the game at cyclingnews.com of his dream team. The rules are pick 9 riders that you have ridden with and pick your dream team. Little guy, I just thought of you this entire time.
Yeah, can I look at it yet? Or you guys?
Because on his dream team, we have Carlos Sastre, picks himself as the GC contender. He has Jose Maria Jimenez as his as a climber.
Because he was like his brother-in-law.
Yep, and he has a brother-in-law.
They grew up together.
He has a hugely talented climber who he raced with for a while that dropped both Bradley Wiggins and Chris Froome halfway up the Angrillo in the process to winning the Vuelta.
Oh, COBO. He's got
he
COBO.
Has COBO.
Does he?
Yeah.
Because he fucking knows! He knows the power. I'm not the only one who believes COBO should have been the greatest Grand Tour rider in the last 15 years. The greatest Grand Tour rider of the last 15 years knows.
He has sprinters.
Awesome.
Stuart O'Grady, and I like his reasoning behind Stuart O'Grady because he doesn't need teammates to win stages. He's like, you could just it'd be a good guy. Yeah. He has Fabian Cancellara as a domestique.
Hell yeah.
He has Giovanni Lombardi.
It's a good domestique. There you go. Nice.
He has Inigo Cuesta.
Uh-huh. Good climber.
He has domestique Michael Bladzun.
Don't know that guy, but I bet he can put down the watts.
He's a Danish guy from CSC. So a lot of these guys. And then his team captain out on the word is Kurt Eisel Everson.
Oh yeah, that's a nice
seems like a very loyal team.
Yeah, mostly old CSC guys, and then COBO. Oh, God.
When I saw COBO, I was like, this has to go on the podcast.
Yeah, this is great. I'm just looking at it now. I didn't get to read all the stuff he said about Jose Jimenez. I'm sure that was full of.
Oh, he just talks about how like technically they were never on the same team.
Yeah,
but it's his brother-in-law that he like trained with forever. So
yeah.
All right,
I remember reading something about when he died, because he died pretty young, and how him and Carlos Sastre had grown up together and all that stuff. It sounded pretty sad. Anyway.
Wow. Well, let's get to more happier news.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get to the start of the road season, the official start, and the three of us decided this past week. Road racing season does not start until the weekend of February 27th, when the Umloop Het Nieuwsveld takes place, followed by Kern-Brussel-Kern the next day. So again, the last weekend of February is the official start of road racing, and until then, it is all just team training camps. And that means it is time for silly season, which we will get to in a second. But gentlemen,
Yeah.
How is this silly season has become so malleable with you? It's silly season here.
It's silly season
there.
because I don't know if you read the expose on Team Smart Stop Mountain Khaki today.
The one in the New York Times?
No, the one that was on Cycling News, in which that they haven't paid any of their riders for like the last 8 months. They still owe quite a bit. And to the point that there is a team camper that is abandoned on the side of the road at some gas station in Utah. That
is that possible?
Supposedly is filled with team bikes. And yeah, amazing stuff, guys.
Okay, wait. Why is it abandoned? Why did they leave it there?
Because it broke down.
No.
Like so the truck got broke down, but there's just a camper. Like we could hook a truck up to the camper?
No.
Or
It's
is it like
bus.
It's like
it's
a bus.
the full bus.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna call McDonough. Tim, you got frequent flyer miles.
Yeah, I'll meet you out there.
Fly us. You're gonna fly us all out there because I don't have any miles.
Okay.
We're gonna fly McDonough out. We're gonna buy like a cheap, ratty car. I'll drive around in. We're gonna find this truck. Matt's gonna fix it. We're gonna just pump him full of coffee while it happens, and we're gonna sell all those wheelers back to the dominant or to Dom, and it'll be great.
So this is our team. This is our team bus.
It will be our team bus / we'll sell all the bikes to be rich.
I'm pretty sure it got impounded and that there's some sky-high bill that you'd have to pay to get it out of the impound.
No. This
it's
is
probably
this
just
is
behind a truck stop. We just have to have Matt fix it.
No, guys, this is a job for the A team. Where
You got to break it out of you.
we have to break it out of there.
Oh yeah. Okay. I've got disguises.
You know,
Of course you do.
You're the helicopter pilot, little guy.
Fuck yeah. All right. I've probably sworn more in this episode than any episode.
All right, so
Just realized that.
So Team Smart Stop and Adam Meyerson kind of went, gave some insight on his Twitter feed about this entire ordeal, talking about this. In the article, the team owner's like, "Oh, we just got out ahead of ourselves because they were having success, and they kept like, oh, let's become a stage race team, and let's sign bigger and better people. Let's pay more money."
Well, this is a team that has been around for a long time and should have known what they were doing, right? Like they grew and they grew from a small team, the Time Pro Cycling team, and Eric Saunders was a part of that. We interviewed him on the podcast last year. And then it grew and grew, and they had some success, became Mountain Khakis, and then Adam took part in it, and we've had him on the podcast. So, like, we've actually got some connections to this team, and we kind of watched them grow up. I worked for Time and for a couple other sponsors of the team over the years. And they just, at the end, just, like, got stars in their eyes and started being like, oh, we can win tours, we can go to Europe, and we can do, like, did they just get too big for their britches? Like, what happened?
It was the old, let's not balance our checkbook, let's not, like, actually budget. My favorite part was that they were trying to leverage, like, the national road title won by Marcotte into, and their NRC overall won by Travis McCabe into like bigger sponsorship. And the key quote from this article in Cycling News was, "The national championship and NRC success led to a larger allocation of water bottles in 2015, but not much else."
Oh.
And
who's their water bottle sponsor?
And the best part was, so if you read like Meyerson's thing, you feel kind of bad. He's like, when you overspend every year, then continually pay back the last year with next year's money, eventually the bottom falls out. This is like the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme, where they just never got out ahead, and then they're like, oh, we're winning these races. Let's start paying everybody. And then I didn't know that Marcotte showed up to a race and won it, and then covered the Smart Stop logo on his jersey when he crossed the finish line. And there's a picture of that on the article in Cycling News. And then in the article, he's like, yeah, that was the number one reason I went to that race, was because I was going to win, and I wanted to cover up the sponsor on the jersey because he hasn't gotten paid.
That's pretty sweet.
Meyerson says, I kept that.
Isn't there supposed to be money in the bank? There's supposed to be a UCI bank.
They talk about
they
that.
Touch on that.
Yeah,
it's pretty great.
It's supposed to be 15% of the salary, and when they started raising the salaries, they never like updated the bank loan. So it was just kind of like,
what the hell is the UCI doing?
They just carried it over from the previous year.
Probably a pretty standard domestic small.
That goes to the next part. Are we surprised at all? Like, are we surprised that Smart Stop was too good to be true?
I'm not surprised. I don't know.
I wasn't surprised.
How Spencer feels.
Spencer, you surprised?
Dean.
I'm just surprised that they took a winning formula that seemed to be working and just completely turned it upside down to try and make it something else, try to force it to be something it wasn't. And I think that's probably a big part of where it all went wrong is, But
it's an appealing thing, and it feels like a lot of teams fall into this, like, you want to grow. I mean, a lot of businesses fall into the same ideas, like, you're so big, but you could be a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, and before you know it, you can't pay any of your bills and you're screwed, Like,
it's kind of like this podcast.
Yeah, it's like this podcast, right? Like, we used to be small time, and now I require that big jar of M&Ms before every episode. You guys know that shit's getting expensive. But I'm not going back. I'm never going back.
Yeah.
I'm getting that big jar of brown M&Ms every time.
Do they even make brown M&Ms anymore?
No idea.
Yeah. So, hey, little guy, you got bike swap this weekend.
Hell yeah, I got bike swap. Let's do a little pre-sale here. I got a KHS Cross 200 frame, raw painted color. I'm going to say $100. Call me up, $100. It's going to be $110 at the swap, people. I don't know what else I got. I got a bunch of shit. I'll be there.
Nice. What are you seeking out?
I can't divulge that information. I am definitely looking for Miche. Okay, I'm going to say this right now. Square taper aluminum Miche super type cranks. I will pay. I don't know what I'll pay. I've never seen them in real life. I'd be so excited to even just see them. I want that. I just want goofy stuff. You know me. I want a bunch of like 650,
you buy more rotor cranks.
Wheels.
You're gonna buy some power cranks. You're gonna.
I am gonna try to sell my rotor cranks because I'm not using them. So I do have a pair of rotor road cranks with the rings for sale. Very reasonable price, people. Call me up. Mm-hmm. Let's talk. All prices are going to be higher at the swap than they are on the podcast. I need some 27-inch tires. So if anyone else out there has some 27-inch tires, that's what I need.
Doubtful.
I know. Remember like 5 years ago, Spencer, I bought some 27-inch tires for $1 a piece at the swap.
Oh yeah.
That's what I've been riding at work for the last like 3 months. That's a value, man.
That is a value.
But they're really skinny. But anyway. Yeah, I got bike swap. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to tell you guys about cool stuff next.
Well, I can't wait. And I know our listeners can't wait to next week.
But you're going to have to.
Really? And with that, we'd like to thank all our listeners to the Slow Ride Podcast. iTunes and Stitcher. Thanks BK1 of Rhymesters Entertainment for intro and outro music. Leave us a review. Email us at theslowridepodcast@gmail.com. And with that, we bid you adieu.
Get off the road!
The Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com. and on Twitter at the Slow Ride Pod.